think what we're going to do today, more than anything, is get into the heart of the matter, talk about where connected TV advertising marketing is today, where it's come from, even as soon as 6 months ago, and how the entire landscape is shifting with it. More than anything, we've seen increased deployment, increased activation. We're starting to see true media investment in the space, which is why it's so crucial to talk about, especially when it comes to any sector of the emerging TV landscape, because at the end of the day, we're all monetized by advertising in a lot of ways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let our panelists introduce themselves, starting with Wendell over here, give you their background a little bit, and then we can get into it.
Thanks. I'm Wendell Wengen with LG Electronics Innovation Development Center located in San Jose. One of the areas that I'm responsible for is our connected TV advertising platform. And I've been working on that for the past 2 years, starting with the strategy, working with Tom Morgan in the back, and to the implementation and the launch this past November. And so we've got about 6 months of operations under our belt, and we've been working with our partners at Yumi on ad sales and ad serving.
Hi there, Bismarck Lepe, President of Products and co-founder of Uyala. Uyala basically provides a video platform for broadcasters and service providers, and we have a heavy emphasis on monetization and analytics.
Hi, I'm Jeff Siegel. I run the ad sales team worldwide for Rovi Corporation. We have an ad network of the top CE manufacturers with Samsung, Sony, Panasonic, Toshiba launched today. It's been primarily a display ad network, and then as of recently, we've launched the video backbone and infrastructure as well. So doing a lot in apps and around apps and on display.
Frank Barbieri, I run Corp Dev for Yumi and was doing emerging platforms as well, working with fine folks at LG to launch one of the first connected TV ad platforms, and that's spread since. We are a brand platform for audiences online, and our whole take is to just make the environment better for brand advertising.
Tara Matra, I manage ad sales for TiVo, and I guess my joke, which is getting somewhat stale, is we were the company that invented the technology that allows you to skip ads, and now we are out with a solution that it helps you engage with you while you are skipping through those ads. We've got an interactive ad platform. Many of you might not be aware of it, but it's pretty far advanced in terms of the ROI we're seeing, and the basic gist of our inventory is that it really works well with the new behaviors that have been created from watching content in a time-shifted world.
Hi, Ashley Still. I'm responsible for product management for video solutions at Adobe Systems. And as many of you might not know, Adobe's made a number of acquisitions in the ad space over the past 1.5, 2 years. And what we're doing is integrating those acquisitions with our core video publishing capabilities, Flash Player, and the ability to deliver video even outside of Flash Player to enable reach across devices, monetization on all of those devices, and really bring TV online in a much more scalable way, whether that means getting great experiences in front of a consumer, whether it's on a connected TV or an iPad, and making sure that every device is highly monetizable through in-stream advertising, targeted advertising, et cetera.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. And quick side note, we're about to talk about the opportunity of connected TV advertising right now, where the marketplace is. But if there's one indicator that it is growing in prevalence, the last time we had this panel, we were in a very, very small, closed, cramped space, which some of my panelists could probably tell you about, and we're in a much larger one this time. So I think as far as opportunity is concerned, it's a good segue there. And what I'd like to do is start with Bismarck over here really briefly. As far as Uyala is concerned, your video index report has a lot of interesting implications when it comes to opportunity levels for connected TV. And I was just hoping you could maybe share with some of your findings and what those implications might be as far as this marketplace is concerned.
Sure. So for all those who don't know what the video index is, late last I guess mid last year, we started publishing a quarterly synopsis of video consumption patterns across the 200 million people that watch video on an Uyala-powered experience. And we analyze everything from consumption patterns throughout the day on different devices, advertising patterns on how to maximize revenue, a lot of really detailed information. I think it's like a 25 to 30 page report that's pared down from about 60 pages. So a lot of detailed information. You can download it right now. I think probably what's been the most interesting thing to see, if we go back to 2007 when we started the company, is that the growth and adoption and amount of content that's being consumed on connected TVs is growing about 10 times faster. Video that's being consumed on connected TVs about 10 times faster than the adoption rates that we're seeing on the iPhone, which was the primary smart device in 2007. Quarter over quarter, we're seeing certain devices like Google TV see triple digit growth in terms of consumption patterns, but everybody here who's in the internet space, you all know that in the early days, it's very easy to get triple-digit growth. But the trajectory of video consumption across all of these platforms is increasing significantly. And also, what we're starting to see is the interactions between content that's being consumed by a user on a secondary device and their primary device on TV, and how you can actually have different videos playing at the same time, one that's driving the primary experience and the other that's going to drive the primary experience once a consumer wants to switch channels or look for a follow-on movie or show.
Thank you. So in those regards, I'm going to have you pass that mic over to Wendell here. And I think Wendell, from your perspective, from the equipment manufacturer's side of things, I think there's a lot to share in regards to what we're seeing as far as adoption rates, what we're seeing as far as activations. I think it'd be incredibly helpful to kind of know what things look like in those regards from your guys' perspective right now, who should have a pretty clear idea.
Sure. So just a bit of background. LG is the second largest TV manufacturer worldwide. This year we expect to ship in excess of 30 million TVs. We launched the connected smart TV advertising service in the U.S. and Korea back in November, and of course, really what we need to get is a large installed base, and we've seen that's been growing very rapidly. Part of that is the connection rate, as you mentioned, and the data that we've been tracking through our back end that measures activation rates has really been very encouraging. We've seen that 2 years ago, when our devices shipped with only an Ethernet jack, we were getting connection rates around 30%. Last year, with a dongle and also more interesting and compelling content, we were getting connection rates at around 60%, or activation rates. This year, with features like speech input for search that requires an internet connection, we expect to get activation rates around 80%.
And what would you say is the biggest fuel, the biggest catalyst to those increasing connection rates?
We've put a lot of effort into making it an easy to use and easy to connect experience. Both the device itself, we've also worked with some of the access point manufacturers like Cisco Linksys to make it a very easy push button experience. So we've tried to do everything we can to make that out-of-box installation experience in the home as simple as possible.
Absolutely. So I'm going to have you pass that over to Tara, if you don't mind. And Tara, what I'm going to ask you here too is, as far as those new adoption rates, those connection rates, we're seeing a lot of changes, obviously, in watching behaviors as well as ad watching behaviors, and I want to see if you could comment on that and shed some light as to what changes are out there and what we should expect to continue seeing.
Well, I would say that whether it's ads or content, what we've found is that there's so much, we all know, say the same thing, so much consumer choice. And what we're seeing, at least through TiVo, TiVo, you may know it as a DVR, but in addition to being a DVR, we've got a user interface that's really the only service that's blending all of your linear content seamlessly with any content that we've aggregated from over-the-top providers like Hulu Plus and Amazon, Blockbuster, YouTube, et cetera. And so what we found is the key to getting adoption rates higher on anything, whether it's content or advertising, certainly goes back to the ease of use of the experience. And so what we're applying today to content applies to advertising. It's that the closer that we can bring the experience, let's say an over-the-top experience, to blending with a linear TV experience, we're seeing the adoption rates go up. If you're searching for, I don't know, Glee, you're getting search results of everything that you can, every time it's airing on TV, you can see all the recordings that you've set on your DVR, and then all of the times the content's available through any of those providers I just mentioned, even if it's extra clips on YouTube. And so you're not going from device to device or from, excuse me, user interface to user interface. It's all in one menu and one search. And what we've done with the advertising is exactly the same thing. Where your 30-second spot, your traditional 30-second spot is an interruption. The ad units that are available on TiVo are opt-in nature, but we try to tie them to the programming, similar to the way you would place an ad buy, but in the sense that when you pause live or recorded television on TiVo, there's an opportunity for an ad impression. When you have recorded a program on TiVo and you get to the end of the program, you get what's called a delete screen. And we use that opportunity to create an ad unit there as well. And it invites the user to then go into a branded experience from the advertiser. And so a long-winded way to get to the answer. I just feel like most people probably don't know what advertising inventory TiVo has. But what we found is the adoption rates have grown over the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years significantly, even though we've had a slight decrease in our sub base. And it's because the advertising and the content is so tightly woven to the user interface, which has been made easier.
Absolutely. Anybody else care to comment on that area?
Can you skip the ads that are being shown while you're skipping the ads?
No.
You can skip other people's ads, but not their ads.
Yeah, you can't. So what we've actually done is when you're fast forwarding a 30-second spot, an advertiser can buy a fast forward billboard so that when you're in the fast speed, you can try and block them and catch them. But no, you can't skip our ads.
Right now, there isn't any input on whether or not that ad was relevant. Or
No.
targeted. Okay.
Well, no.
So just to add a little perspective for Adobe's perspective on advertising and connected TVs, there's a wealth of opportunity for new types of ad units and new types of engagements. We're really excited about companion devices. I think what companies like Shazam is doing is actually really interesting and enabling you to extend the linear experience to a companion device. But at the end of the day, TV is about scale. And there's $60-some-odd billion spent every year on linear TV advertising. And a lot of what is going to bring content online, in our opinion, is making it easier to extend that same opportunity, which is really in-stream video advertising, to connected devices. And in order to do that, there are a ton of problems, right? I mean, there's a lot of opportunity, but certainly challenges. There are technical challenges in actually inserting dynamic ads into a linear stream. So if you want to change the ad that was shown over a broadcast over the air delivery mechanism, if you want to change that when it's going over the top, doing that with precision and with a good user experience is really hard today. So if you look at CNN, if you look at Watch ESPN, if you look at the actual TV content that is going over the internet today, they typically are not monetizing it. And that is a huge problem for this industry. If content's going to come, because content is going to bring users to the TVs. Content's what is going to make people connect their televisions. And so if you can't insert the ads in the content in a seamless way that makes users want to watch, then it's going to be hard to bring a lot of this content online. And so that's one of the big problems that Adobe's focused on solving. Not only what ad units can we enable in the future, but how do you actually execute seamless advertising in a TV channel over the internet to connected devices today.
That's a great segue to the platform that Yumi's built. So, I take issue that it's not a big market. It's actually, the video ad market is the fastest growing ad market online right now. It's $2 billion today. It's grown to $3.5 billion.
I was just saying that InStream is great. Like there are other new ad units, but there's a lot of money being spent on InStream video advertising.
Yeah.
And it's a massive opportunity to just make that easier online.
Yeah.
That was my point.
Got it. Totally agree with that. And we work with premium content providers like MSNBC and others to give the publishers an easy way to do multi-screen approach. So they have this problem where they're delivering their video online, they're delivering their video over the top, they're delivering them on mobile devices. How do I rationalize, organize all that, and make sure that I can present the agency, the advertiser, a very clean system that we can prove reach and extended reach and frequency across all those platforms, and we purpose-built ourselves to do that, which is one of the reasons why I think our software ships in every one of the 30 million LG TV, smart TV that go out there. And I totally agree that the opportunity here, it's a brand opportunity, and the best branding device out there is sight, sound, and motion in video. And rationalizing that kind of delivery is really the biggest challenge that we face. And I know Jeff will agree with this as well. And we're all on this panel experimenting. And I think that if anyone tells you they have it figured out, they're way wrong. But we are at the point where we have enough tools at our disposal to where we can do interesting experiments, and then we can get little sonar pings from those experiments to say, like, that one worked really well, let's reinvest in that and let's grow that. That one didn't work so well, let's decrement that kind of experience. And that's why I think it's kind of an exciting time now for this brand type advertising on CTVs.
I would agree with that. I would say, as it relates to television networks and the ability to take what we've done on the internet to TV, the issue from where we sit isn't necessarily a technological issue. We can have solutions for this, whether it's ACR solutions or a number of other solutions. It's really a business issue today. When you take what we've done on the internet and start to put that on TV, content owners really sit back and say, "Oh, that's my space. Don't step on my space." Rightfully so. So we've got to figure out what that looks like from a business perspective. And we can get into a place where we start replacing national 30-second spots that are targeted down to that home. I don't want to say that's easy to do technically because I'm a sales guy. I don't have to worry about it. But, really the business issues that go with that are really hairy. You've got, streaming video, you've got IP delivered video, and you've got your traditional linear video. And both of those have their own unique set of problems and issues. So we can't just take internet models and metrics and throw those on the TV. We can't just take what we've done on the internet and assume it's going to work on TV, because that's just, today hasn't proven to be the case. We talk about two-screen companion devices. They're cute, they're fine, they're fun, but people aren't using them in scale in any significant way. And when they do, it's not necessarily in conjunction with what's happening on the TV in a synchronous way. There's no proof that says 90% of people are actually doing that. I think there's interest in it, but it hasn't happened in any scalable way yet. When it does, I think you start to grow up that curve. It's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, I would say, I agree with you, Jeff, on everything up until can internet be leveraged on TV. It's not a direct port. You're not going to say, like, okay, the cookie infrastructure that you'd have on your PC is going to be exactly the cookie infrastructure that's needed on your set-top box. But the amount of engineering resources that have gone into making the advertising experience work from a targeting perspective, a measurement perspective, a delivery perspective, the amount of engineering that's gone into building huge internet businesses like ours and others in the market is a huge well source to leverage for these new connected devices.
I was thinking more from a business perspective. I think the infrastructure, the underbelly, absolutely. I think we lose, though, as an industry if we just take a search model or a cost per action model and throw that in a 30-second spot in a linear environment. To me, that just totally undersells the value of the sight, sound, and motion on a big screen TV.
Totally.
Right.
We refuse to talk about click-through
Right.
rates.
We're in violent agreement.
Click-through rate on TV, really?
Yeah.
Click-through rate on TV?
Yeah, that's what really worries me. If we just go down the click-through rate on a 30-second spot on TV, it just totally undervalues what that medium is all about, and that's so.
Thanks, guys. We'll probably delve into some of those areas in just a bit here as well. What I thought we'd do really quickly also, though, is have Wendell here really quickly present the UI as far as some connected TV advertising placements are concerned. Some of you within the audience have seen it, some of you haven't seen it, so we figured we'd just give a brief presentation here. Thanks, Wendell.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. It's we've found it's always helpful to show the actual UI that we're shipping this year, and we'll point out where the ads are. Before we go into the UI, though, one important thing is the user experience and how the user interacts with the connected TV, and a lot of that has to do with the devices that the remote control that's really controlling this. We've taken the approach that it needs to be a very easy to use and intuitive experience. We've implemented a remote control. You can see it only has 8 buttons, and it also has 5 motion sensors. So it's a positional remote control. We call this the magic motion, and it allows the user to select exactly what they want to run on the connected TV service. So it really makes it a much easier to use experience. I think it timed out. Let me restart this. So this is a simulation of our TV so that I didn't have to carry around a TV with me. But you can see, if we start from the live TV window, we have the remote control here. And we can launch the smart TV service by pressing the home button, which brings us into the home dashboard. You can see we have an ad unit in the home dashboard that is going to be one of the most frequently viewed ad units.
How do you reinvent the best-selling
can
car
do-
in America? From behind the wheel, Akio Toyoda, race car driver and president of Toyota Motor Corporation.
So we can do click to video, we can do click to web, click to an application. And we actually did an application with Toyota when we launched the service back in November. So I'm going to show you a couple of the ad units in the user experience, and we also have ad units that we work with content providers to implement in their applications. The overall user experience is organized with a card metaphor that organizes the different services: premium video, 3D content. LG rolled as our app store. This is user-provided content from their home network, and games. So just taking a look at a couple of ad units, there are some that we have, we're still prototyping, we haven't implemented. So one interesting one, I think, is search. Within the search user interface, we have an ad unit here that is a microsite, and you can select, it's interactive, you can select more information about these different products and have that delivered to you. I think I'll show you one more, and this is another one that we have also prototyped.
Green Health Plus from LG uses innovative technology to save energy and help you keep food fresher. Prepare your favorite meal in minutes without losing flavor or nutrients.
So here we could use the remote control to enter a phone number, provide more information through an SMS message, and then launch to a website.
Thanks a lot, Wendell. All right, so back into the heart of things here. You know, I mean, when we start looking into, obviously, the connected TV advertising market, we want to know what the buy side is thinking. While we don't have anybody here from the agency side, the buy side, I thought I'd ask Jeff first. Currently, what is the agency sentiment towards connected TV? You know, are we still seeing a lack of education? Are we still seeing greater uptake? What's going on in that space at the moment?
It's a big question. I think it's different today than it was a year ago. We used to travel around with Samsung sets strapped to our back, quite literally. You know, we'd have all the different sets, and we'd go into a conference room, set them up, and show people this. Because if you haven't seen a connected TV, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to figure out, other than saying, hey, it's kind of like your smartphone on your television. So I think it's an education thing. But the first three questions out of their minds. First is scale, and I think Wendell hit it. From an LG perspective, we're seeing similar types of connect rates for other CE manufacturers that we work with. Again, Samsung, Sony, Panasonic, Toshiba. And I think you start with display units that we've got here, looking to richer functionality. So I think it's the scale and connection rates. There's always a question about that. We now have we're approaching what I would consider scale and what most buyers are considering scale. So that issue is starting to get mitigated a little bit. Functionality. What can the ads actually do? What kind of measurement can we actually get off the ads? What can you do with that measurement? And targeting from that. And I think the third one is, how do you tie into social? From a functionality perspective, how do I tie my online campaigns into what I'm doing on the television? In a lot of ways, they feel like it's a step back because they're so used to doing things on the web, to the point earlier about targeting and certain types of functionality. They feel that on smart TV, since it's connected to the internet, it should have the same functionality and same execution. And all that infrastructure just hasn't been built. But I think between what Frank is doing on their team and what we've done at Rovi, we are going really quickly in this space. I think you're going to see really quickly that we've worked with most of our CE manufacturers to do in-stream dynamic pre-roll video in apps and others. And that's really cool stuff that hadn't really been done in scale before. So, I think there's still some core issues that we're working through, but scale, if we can get that one off the table and just get the education, I think that's 95% of the battle.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and I use the anecdote of, before I was at Yumi, I built and sold a mobile advertising company, and I never saw the velocity of interest or the ramp of interest in mobile as quickly as I have in connected TV at the early stages in the market. And I think the general feeling is, and we're having the heads of the agencies, Maurice Levy from Publicis, sitting down and saying, I need to understand this. I don't think he was doing that on mobile 5 years ago. He was probably doing it on mobile a couple years ago. And I think what's driving a lot of that attention and interest, and frankly, a lot of the sales that we're getting through our system, is that TV is where the brand bread is buttered, right? Mobile was a nice add-on to a spend, but TV, if something's changing on that screen that's hanging on the wall, there's an imperative for brands to understand that. There's an imperative for the agencies to understand that. And I think because of that imperative, we're seeing a lot of interest and a lot of pull, not too much push into the market, which is good for the market and gives us the opportunity to experiment and find what works.
I think that's where we can get in to see, I think collectively, we can get in to see almost any head of an agency or a CMO at big companies because they're interested in the technology. They want to take scale with functionality and measurement and metrics and put all those three things together. And that lives in a room that you use every day, in your family room or your living room. And that's what the smart TVs do.
Absolutely. So let's pass this over to Ashley really quickly. With all of that potential currently, and we'll probably hit into this more in a bit, but what barriers, in your opinion, do you think still stand as far as media investment is concerned in the space?
Certainly. So for a little bit of context, we work primarily, obviously Adobe as a whole works with both the buy side and the sell side. From a video solution standpoint, we work really closely with the top publishers, so brands like Viacom and Turner, et cetera. So I think one of the things that we're seeing is a lot of the content isn't available on connected TVs yet, right? So obviously agencies, they need their customers and their partners to have their content available on these devices before they can start executing inventory into them. So one of the part of that absolutely is a business problem. It's content licensing. It's getting the programmers and the pay TV operators to agree on who's allowed to do what inside the home. And that is, I think, one of the really positive things that seems to be accelerating is these TV Everywhere deals that are getting done. So Turner and Comcast signed one and did a big press release last year. Time Warner Cable and Viacom just announced an agreement recently. And that really, we're incredibly excited about just opening up the content gates, right? Because that's where all of this starts to get really interesting. So from a media perspective and how we think we're helping kind of advance the media opportunities, making sure that publishers can get their content onto all these devices, and when it's inside an app, make sure that they can execute ads against it. And again, we bought a company called Auditude recently that is a publisher-side ad management platform that enables the publishers to manage all of these campaigns and execute ads into their connected TV or just connected to the internet environments. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I completely agree that there's a massive kind of agency problem. There's also a lot of challenges that the publishers face in getting their content, and obviously we want ESPN, we want Comedy Central, we want all of that content on our connected TVs to really pull consumers.
I would say too, I think from the agency standpoint, the problem really only exists that many of them don't want to be first. You know, in this environment, it's difficult to justify a new medium is a challenge for them. And there are that small group within an industry that will help drive this, you know.
And same thing on the publisher side, right? I mean, and
we haven't had any agency problem. I mean, we have. I guess we've just been lucky in that we've every agency we've spoken with, you know, especially the visionaries like Megan from Razorfish or whatever. They've been tell me more, give me more. How can I measure? How can I test this? I really want to put this in front of this client. I really want to put this in front of that. We've actually, I mean, our poor VP of Connected TV is on a plane, of like 4 days a week, fulfilling all these requests. So I think we're seeing actually a lot of pull now.
But there's a difference though.
Once they get there, it's sort of like, okay, what's available, and we help. You got to help rationalize and say, look, this is an experiment. There's not scale here, but you'll get some indication about what the performance is here. So you have to be a coach, but in terms of interest level, we're seeing.
Well, there's a difference between interest and close, right? I mean, that's the thing. To get through that cycle, and actually, I mean, who's writing the checks? To actually get people to write the check, there's a breakdown in there somewhere that, we want to do it, we want to do it, so we want to sign.
No. So I think we close fine. Our close rate is fantastic. It's the scale. Like they're not $10 million buys because you can't do a $10 million buy. They're $100,000 buys.
Yeah,
But that's fine at this level. If somebody came to me and said, I want to spend $1 million on connected, you gotta sort of say like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, why don't you spend 200, 250, and we'll show you like what will work good, and we'll give you actual good results off of that. But I don't see that as an agency problem as much as I do see the standard growth of any new emerging media and being able to experiment effectively at the right price level.
Yeah, I was going to say, building on Jeff's point, we're constantly faced with, and I'm sure it's similar, show us something new, and I keep thinking, it's all interactive TV, it is all new to you. You haven't tried it. You haven't done anything with it yet, so it's new. But what we're finding for the first, I would say this is the third year we've actually had greater than 60% of our advertisers are repeat buyers. And that's a real shift from, I tried it, I checked the box, test and learn. And if interactive TV is starting to move into actually being part of the consideration process, part of people's plans versus test, learn, and move on, I think that's a pretty big development that I know Rovi has seen and we've seen too.
As have we.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say, not the one thing I've said about a billion things, but I would say there is definitely interest in interactive television from the agency standpoint because consumers are interacting with the television. I mean, it's happening. So the notion of, what happens with Canoe going away and everything else, in our mind, that's just kind of it doesn't really matter. Not that I want to see Canoe go away, but the reality is people are interacting with their television sets every day, whether they're changing the channel or going to the guide or, playing with this stuff. There's demand, there's pent-up demand out there. It's just getting the right experience up and running.
Yeah,
I mean,
Canoe
the greatest
got the farm
thing-
on one behavior.
But the greatest thing that Canoe did, I remember our ad sales team was starting to panic thinking Canoe is making all this headway, and they were, but frankly, it was one of those occasions of all boats rising because even though, as I mentioned, TiVo is about 2.5 million homes, where we had been passed on before because of scale, I think there was like that click, oh, right, I remember TiVo having something like this. It's small, but let's go and take a look. And so the fact that the interest and the importance and the fact that you can get good results, not maybe a scale play, but you can get interesting results depending on what your goals are for your campaign, it has made interactive TV much more important.
Thanks a lot, guys. All right, so let's move forward to a different topical area here quickly. As far as targeting is concerned, Frank, maybe you can share some insight on how we're targeting on connected TV currently and what you're seeing in those regards.
You know, it's Wild West right now, so there's still a lot of infrastructure being built out, and it will come down to how publishers are actually migrating their user bases over to the connected TV platforms, and then what their agreements with the OEMs are in terms of sign up and registration. We're sort of Switzerland in terms of targeting, so you know, we have APIs and can take any amount of targeting data, whether it be from the OEM or from the publisher, as long as they get the opt-in and they get the information from the consumer that allows them to target. But right now, it's whatever registration or whatever the OEM or the publisher asks of their users. That from a explicit targeting. From an implicit targeting, one of the things I like about having having a campaign that can run online, on mobile, and on connected TV is we have 7 years of data around video and brand advertising in our database. We collect over 1 terabyte of data a month just on what people are watching and which is not bad. Yeah, 1 terabyte. Yeah, and we use that data to create really correlative relationships between brands and programming. And those correlative relationships are statistically significant, platform agnostic. So we can leverage a lot of our online learnings and targeting what's happening on even smaller platforms and connected TV to know what the audience behaviors are, what the audience makeup is, and that gives much better targeting where there may be no explicit targeting.
I can expand a little bit on the kinds of targeting information that we're collecting and we could provide to Yumi when the scale really makes sense to deploy a lot of targeting. But we have user accounts that we ask users to set up when they first use the system. We collect some very minimal information, but a user can upgrade their account at no cost to a full account. They can also add their credit card if they want to do purchase transactions for applications. And we collect additional demographic information, and we're planning on expanding that and running campaigns to get people to convert their accounts to the full member account.
I would add to that, I mean, there are a number of levels of targeting. You've got geographic targeting, and from the connected devices space, since you've got the IP connection, you can start to bundle those together by geography. So you can buy by zip code, state, whatever. So you've got geo, psycho, demo, behavioral targeting. I mean, we're doing all that across our platforms today.
So I think the bigger issue goes back to the agency issue. It doesn't matter how much data you have. If there aren't enough ads, you're going to see the same BMW ad over and over and over again. So what we found that works around targeting right now is strictly ad load management. If you find someone who's willing to sit through 7 ads, show them 7 fucking ads. If you have someone who's going to skip after 2 ads, then you decrease the ad load. And that's what we found has actually increased revenue for our publishers at this point, because there just isn't enough inventory.
I think it's a great point. I think also know what device they're on. If they're, with this about connected TVs, but if you're sitting on your sofa, you probably have a higher tolerance for the ad load than if you're on your smartphone or on a tablet. So don't just vary it for the person, but vary it for the device. We also are, we're doing some interesting things again to enable publishers who are directly selling ads to increase the value of their inventory. So Adobe acquired a company called Demdex that's now called Audience Manager last year, and that enables you to take either first-party data that you have or third-party data and create audience segments out of it. So if you can identify that people are in the market for a car based on activity that they've demonstrated, you can now, the video player, whether that's a video player that's inside a Flash or one that you license for a connected TV in a native application environment, that video player can now understand that audience segment, and Auditude, the ad management platform, can serve an ad based on that specific audience segment. So it gives people the ability to go and sell their limited inventory for a higher CPM, because instead of serving it to everybody, you're only going to serve ads to people who are in the market for a car, right? So it's how do you make the most of limited inventory in this period of scarcity that we're in, kind of before more of the content comes online.
And so I've got a somewhat future-looking question for you, Wendell, specifically. Lately, we've been hearing a lot of news about built-in cameras that hypothetically have facial recognition, gender recognition, age recognition, etc. Do you foresee a world where we can actually target ads in real time based on viewers, maybe even based on biometrics?
Well, so we're not incorporating cameras in most of the TVs today. I think technically that's all possible to do. I think it really depends on user acceptance and whether people really think this is a creepy thing to do. Some people feel that way, but I think with just basic demographic and geographic kinds of targeting information, we can effectively make these ads addressable.
But that's not limited to the television set. I mean, there have been announcements in the last few weeks about set-top boxes with cameras built in, or a number of devices. So, I mean, I think it will happen if it means that you get better ads. There's a certain part of the population that will want that. There's a certain part of the population that will say, "Nope, creepy, I'm going to opt out."
And a larger part of the population that's just not going to know.
Right.
Care.
Yeah.
We like those people.
All right. So back to some other areas. As far as ad units, Frank, obviously we're seeing quite a few new ad units throughout connected TV. Can you explain what you've seen so far as being effective, and maybe give us some information on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really early days, so we're seeing, and I know Jeff will share data as well. We're seeing great brand lift off of almost every unit we throw out because the ad load is so low. So I think that the units the people who are buying are, they're getting brand recall, brand favorability, brand recognition at fairly high levels, which we're very, very happy with. I think, if you look forward, we are trying to be vigilant that screen that hangs on the wall is an entertainment screen, and it's built more for impact than it is necessarily for interaction. Interaction happens in your hand or in your lap, and we're tuning our ad units appropriately. We don't want to try and force a square peg into a round hole and ask the consumer to do something that's orthogonal to their existing entertainment experience.
The one thing I'd add too is that we give a lot of thought to making the user experience and not impacting what the user's trying to do with showing ads, and being very mindful of that. And I saw an example just yesterday about what not to do in a review from CNET of another TV manufacturer's product that I won't name, but they put a overlay ad on the TV as soon as you turn it on. And at least the reviewers found this to be very annoying. Actually, the title was Very Annoying Ads and How to Turn Them Off. And we need to really make sure we avoid those kinds of ad experiences that really will turn people off and get them to turn off this functionality on the TV permanently.
Thanks, Wendell. So, Tara, as far as, we're in a constantly changing market, obviously, which I think we've touched upon quite a bit. What new forms of ad units do you think might emerge that we might have the greatest potential of seeing?
I don't know. I would say that I'm very anti pre-roll, so I know we've talked about that a bit today. I actually, prior to TiVo, I come out of a Comcast world and thinking a lot about video on demand, and I don't know, I even think about my own user habits. All of us in this room are probably more inclined to be tolerant of streaming video and to understand that you have to sometimes watch an ad to get to what you want to get to. I find pre-roll on the internet to be really difficult to tolerate. I think that we have agencies telling our ad sales team that we should add pre-roll to VOD units on TiVo, and I keep thinking, you bought a TiVo, to get the content how you want it when you want it, but to skip ads, and now we're gonna, and no, I'm not trying to, I'm just saying, now you're going to insert something that they're trying to get away from. So I think that I don't know how different the ad units have to be, but certainly if you could make them more contextual and while agencies aren't going to like the idea of opt-in ad units, we have found that well-placed opt-in ad units can be, because they're more desirable to the consumer, we are seeing a higher response rate from, more desirable to the consumer, a higher response rate from the consumer.
Just to defend pre-roll for 1 second.
I just don't know how you can add pre-roll. Like, we're talking about television.
I think, look, online consumers have unanimously shown that they're willing to trade viewing an ad for free content at a certain level or a certain type of content. And it is tied to the content type. We had this conversation last night at dinner, which is there are different kinds of content types. There are some that they're your shows that you watch, and you may be likely to pay for those shows, whether it's on HBO or Showtime, or whether you TiVo them religiously and you want to skip the ads, you want to see that content. But there's a whole nother chunk of viewership, which is that's hunting. Then there's a whole other a raft of viewership, which may be up to 3 or 4 hours a day, which is gathering. I'm channel surfing, I'm trying, I'm looking at new stuff, I'm getting clips online that folks send me. I'm not in a very intimate relationship with that content yet, but I do want to see it. I want to see it for free, and okay, there's an ad. We get video completion rates, one thing we measure online, and they're up in 85, 90%. So people are consistently proving that they will look at a certain segment of content, and that's quite a bit of content, with an ad in trade for free delivery.
Do you see mid-roll completion higher than pre-roll completion? We certainly see that.
Once you're hooked.
Content starts limiting the length of a pre-roll ad before you get into the content, and then looking at potentially having longer form video ads.
On average, we see a 15 to 25% abandonment rate for pre-rolls across the board. But if you actually replace that pre-roll with like a 5-second vignette and then 2 mid-rolls for content over, I think, like 7 to 10 minutes, 2 mid-rolls, your abandonment rates go below 5%. And so you keep a larger percentage of your audience engaged, and you actually increase the RPM in the first minute of content. So.
And this is for data will just show, again, everything should be measurable. You should be able to say, A/B testing. If my A group that I did short or no pre-roll and more mid-rolls, did I make more money than I made with the pre-roll? And at the end of the day, I do think if it's the World Cup, you'll sit through pre-rolls.
I think if we look at the future, what I would say is we now at Rovi, we've done thousands of campaigns on smart TVs with advertisers, and we've learned a lot of pretty interesting things, as I'm sure everybody else has. One of those is that you're not limited to a 30-second spot. You can now say advertising is not just about pre-roll, although that's, in my opinion, a critical component to it. It could be a 6-hour movie that we deliver for an advertiser. It could be about brand integration. We've talked about that for the last several years. It's really starting to happen quickly now. You can click on something. It can be recipes. It can be something that's compelling to the content, to the user. Because what we find is that people are in a different mindset when they're in the smart TV space. And that's not just a sales pitch. We actually see that. People are leaning forward. Same thing on the internet, where they're trying to find a piece of video content. They're in an engaged mindset. They haven't yet made the decision to say, I'm going to watch this, and I'm going to sit back and entertain me. And I'm going to see 30-second ads. They are leaning forward saying, what do I want to watch? What do I want to find? What is it? What's the app that I want to find? What music do I want to find? What television show? What movie do I want to find? So they're really engaged in the experience. And then they, so if you deliver the right content to them in that mindset, they'll watch that. And simple things like we're seeing really good take rates on QR codes, interestingly enough. We're seeing good take rates on click to call, where you put your phone number in and somebody calls you within 5 seconds. Things that I wouldn't think that would really have taken off. We're seeing very good take rates on that.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, we're just about out of time here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass over the microphones. If you guys, 20 seconds or less or so, could state your future predictions for the connected TV advertising marketplace. Feel free to shoot out whatever you'd like.
Yeah, our immediate plans are to expand into other markets, Europe and Canada this year. There's additional markets beyond that we think are quite attractive. The really nice thing about the installed base is it continues to accrue, it compounds. The TV purchase cycle is going down to about 6 years for replacement. So the installed base of devices that can deliver these ad units is just growing, and we're very excited about that.
I read a study somewhere that TV advertising is supposed to be about $220 billion by 2017. My prediction is that by 2017, over 50% of TV-like ads are going to be delivered to a connected device. And so what do we call television? I don't really know. It's going to have a screen. There's going to be content. There's going to be moving ads.
I think the couple things. One is that the way television networks and content owners today work in the linear space will be significantly affected in a positive way by connected TVs and their ability to better monetize their inventory. I think that's going to happen relatively quickly. And two, from an interface standpoint and just a usability perspective, we see people connecting at quick rates, as Wendell said, across all platforms. Now it's just a matter of they've got to go back 10, 12, 20 times a week to get more impressions and really make it part of their lives. So while they're connecting, they use it and they'll go and maybe use Netflix or some other things. We need 1,000 Netflixes, if that's a word, Netfly, on a connected device platform.
I think we're going to continue to see the digital window eat up other windows, and that's going to bifurcate the digital viewing market into two camps. One is pay-per-view and one is ad-per-view. And those camps are all going to be more and more a la carte viewing, but there's still going to be ad-supported models and there's still going to be subscription or pay-supported models.
I think the key is going to be measurement. I think that advertisers are asking for accountability on television like they've seen on the internet, and measurement's going to continue to improve such that the ad TV buyers are going to be a lot smarter.
I agree with all of that, and I think the thing that's going to make it happen or start to make it happen is in the next 3 years, every major content brand will have connected TV apps, and that will create the inventory. It'll transition these TV ad dollars to be coming over the internet rather than over broadcast infrastructure. And that makes all this addressable to us, which is good as a group.
Great. So I think that should do it. Thank you all very much, and thank you very much.